Welcome everyone to today's video, where we'll be showcasing the transformation journeys of multiple patients. So let's begin with the journeys of our 3 patients and see how their hair transplant surgery transformed their appearance, restored their hairlines, and boosted their confidence.
Would you believe that these 3 stunning hair transformations all began at completely different stages of baldness? Hi everyone, I'm your hair expert from QHT Clinic, and today I'm taking you through the real hair transplant journeys of 3 patients who came to us with Norwood Grade 2 baldness, diffuse grade 3 baldness, and diffuse grade 4A baldness. If you are also facing the challenges of baldness, then right now, book a consultation with our experts. Because their hair loss levels were different, each patient required a unique treatment plan, different graft numbers, different recovery phases, and different growth timelines. And that's what makes this comparison truly special. In this video, you'll see how personalized planning and advanced techniques helped us deliver natural, dense, and age-appropriate results for all 3 patients. From early growth to long-term maturity, their progress is captured at 7 months, 8 months, and an incredible 26 months post-transplant. So tell us in the comments, among all 3, whose results you found the most impressive. Before starting the hair transplant procedure, let's understand the initial condition of each patient in detail, because every stage of baldness requires a customized approach and surgical planning. Patient 1 presented with Norwood Grade 2 baldness, which had developed over the past few years. The hair loss primarily affected his facial framing, and it became more clearly visible after trimming his hair. At this early stage, recession had begun mainly along the hairline and frontal zone, while the rest of the scalp, including the mid-scalp and crown area, retained healthy and dense hair growth. Before visiting QHT Clinic, he had tried multiple non-surgical treatments in an attempt to restore his hair, but none delivered satisfactory results. To gain confidence in the procedure and our approach, he closely followed QHT Clinic and our patient results for nearly 1.5 years before finally deciding to move forward with his hair transplant journey. Patient 2 presented with diffuse grade 3 baldness. His hairline started receding around 2018, after which he spent nearly 1.5 years trying various home remedies and also took treatments from nearby dermatologists. Unfortunately, none of these approaches delivered noticeable or lasting improvement. By the time he consulted us, the hairline had receded into a clear M-shaped pattern, leading to visible thinning across the frontal and temporal regions. The density in these areas had reduced diffusely, making the scalp more apparent under normal lighting. However, despite the frontal loss, the mid-scalp and crown areas still maintained relatively good hair density, providing a strong foundation for a planned and conservative restoration approach. Patient 3 presented with an advanced pattern of baldness, with hair loss beginning 5 to 6 years ago at a very young age. He first noticed excessive hair fall during his 11th standard, and by the time he completed 12th, the hair loss had progressed so rapidly that he felt compelled to start wearing a cap regularly. For nearly 5 years, he avoided public places without a cap, as the thinning had affected his confidence. When he visited the clinic for his hair transplant, the frontal area appeared completely sparse, with no visible traces of the original hairline, making the front profile appear almost bald. Diffuse thinning was also present in the mid-scalp region, contributing to an overall weak density in the top area. The crown region, however, was relatively less affected and showed potential to be managed effectively with PRP therapy and medications, while the frontal and mid-scalp regions required surgical restoration due to the advanced nature of hair loss. These stages of hair loss affected their social image because of the perceived loss of youth and attractiveness. Across all 3 patients, the common factor was a strong and stable donor area, the key element that determines the success and natural results of a hair transplant. If you're also noticing hair thinning, you can simply share your pictures with us. Our doctors will help you understand your current stage and guide you towards the best treatment option. Once the detailed scalp assessment was completed, our experts moved on to the next one of the most crucial steps, which is hairline design. A well-designed hairline is about restoring facial balance, proportion, and natural harmony. harmony. At QHT Clinic, every hairline is planned with precision, keeping in mind the patient's facial structure, age, degree of hair loss, and aesthetic goals. For patient 1, our experts created a custom-shaped hairline that complemented his youthful facial proportions. The affected frontal area was carefully outlined to maintain his natural forehead size, while adding a subtle yet defined frame to his face. Since his baldness was at an early stage, a non-shave technique was chosen to ensure minimal disruption and a seamless, natural-looking result. For patient 2, who was in a mid-stage of baldness, the frontal recession was deeper and followed an M-shaped pattern. His hairline was designed slightly lower, with softly rounded temporal corners to restore a balanced frontal appearance, while keeping the design age-appropriate and natural. For patient 3, there were no visible traces of the original hairline, so a completely new hairline had to be recreated. Using key reference points based on his facial symmetry and proportions, the peak points were carefully marked to defy knee a natural-looking shape. Along with this, the frontal and mid-scalp areas were precisely outlined for implantation. These markings act as a surgical roadmap, guiding our team throughout the procedure and ensuring that every graft is implanted exactly where it belongs, resulting in a natural, well-balanced, and long-lasting outcome. Once the hairline was finalized, the procedure began by injecting the local anesthesia into the recipient and donor areas to make the procedure completely painless and comfortable. Once the scalp was numbed, slit creation was performed according to the natural flow and direction of the existing hair. This step is one of the most crucial phases of the surgery, as the angle, depth, and orientation of each slit determine how naturally the transplanted hair will grow and blend with the patient's existing hair. Proper slit creation ensures a seamless transition between the transplanted and non-transplanted areas, giving a natural-looking density and FL-out. Following this, the extraction and implantation process began using the QHT, Quick Hair Transplant technique, where grafts were extracted and implanted simultaneously. This advanced approach minimizes graft out-of-body time, preserves follicle vitality, and enhances the overall survival rate of the transplanted grafts. For all 3 patients, the grafts were implanted according to the zones. For patient 1, single and thin hair follicles were implanted in the hairline zone, creating a natural look. In the affected frontal zone, double and triple hair follicles were implanted, creating a fuller look. In his case, a total of 2,000 grafts were implanted, all extracted from the patient's safe donor zone. For patient 2, also single and thin hair follicles were implanted in the hairline zone in an irregular pattern, creating a soft appearance. In the frontal area, to create a dense, voluminous appearance, double and triple hair follicles were implanted. In this case, a total of 2,700 grafts were implanted, all extracted from the patient's safe donor zone. For patient 3, single and thin hair follicles were implanted in the hairline zone for a natural appearance. In the affected frontal area, beside the hairline, double and triple hair follicles were implanted to provide natural density. In the mid-scalp area, double and triple hair follicles were implanted, creating a voluminous appearance. In his case, a total of 3,800 grafts were implanted, all extracted from the patient's safe donor zone. Through this precise approach, each patient's graft was implanted according to their unique baldness grade, ensuring balance and long-term density retention. If you want to know more about the procedure, comment hair transplant. Post-surgery, patient 2 regularly shared his scalp pictures from the initial days to monitor his recovery and progress. In the first 3 days, scabs began forming over the transplanted area, which is a normal part of the healing process. By day 4, 5, and 6, these scabs became slightly harder as the grafts settled securely into the scalp. On the 7th day, the patient took his first supervised head wash, after which the scabs started to soften. By the 8th day, most of the scabs had naturally fallen off, and with continued gentle washing, the scalp became clean, healthy, and well-healed, indicating smooth recovery and good graft retention. 1 month post-transplant, all 3 patients visited the clinic for their first follow-up and PRP session. At this stage, early healing and the beginning of the shedding phase were carefully evaluated. For patient 1, in just 1 month, the shedding phase has concluded as all the follicles have already shed, as visible in the transplanted area. There was also a mild redness present in the transplanted area, which was temporary and expected expected to fade away with time. The native hair continued growing at its natural pace, and overall scalp healing appeared stable, clean, and well settled. Patient 1 showed a smooth and healthy recovery in 1 month. For patient 2, the 1-month follow-up revealed the onset of the shedding phase, indicating that the transplanted follicles were transitioning into their resting stage. The healing process was progressing well, and importantly, no redness or irritation was observed in the transplanted area. The scalp appeared clean and healthy, reflecting good graft acceptance. Native hair density remained stable, providing a strong base for upcoming regrowth in the following months. Patient 3 showed around 30% shedding in the transplanted area at the 1-month stage. This partial shedding was expected due to his advanced grade of baldness and larger implanted area. The scalp was healing well without signs of infection or abnormal redness. Although visible growth had not yet begun, the grafts were securely settled, and the recovery was on track for progressive results in the coming months. The shedding phase varied among all 3 patients due to differences in baldness grade and the individual's unique hair growth cycles, as every patient's follicles respond differently after transplantation. Patient 1 experienced early completion of shedding. Patient 2 entered the shedding phase on time, while patient 3 showed partial shedding. On this visit, all 3 patients underwent their first PRP session, which helps improve blood circulation, nourish transplanted follicles, and strengthen existing hair. PRP accelerates healing, reduces inflammation, and supports faster, healthier hair regrowth in the upcoming growth phases. Instead of PRP, patients can also opt for GFC, growth factor concentrate therapy, which is an advanced and more refined alternative to PRP. GFC delivers highly concentrated growth factors directly to the scalp, making it more effective in stimulating follicle strength and faster regrowth. It is particularly beneficial for individuals with hair thinning who have not yet progressed to advanced baldness, as it helps strengthen existing hair, control hair fall, and slow further hair loss progression. 3 months post-transplant, all 3 patients returned to the clinic for their next follow-up and PRP therapy session. At this stage, the transition from shedding to early growth becomes more evident. 3 months post-transplant, patient 1 showed clear signs of progress. Since his shedding phase had already concluded within the first month, the transplanted follicles had successfully transitioned into the growth phase. Early baby hair growth was visible across the transplanted area, indicating active follicle function. At the same time, his native hair continued to grow and mature naturally, adding to overall density. In the meantime, the donor area had healed completely. For patient 2, the 3-month follow-up showed that the shedding phase had progressed to nearly 90%, which is a normal and expected part of the hair growth cycle. Although visible growth from transplanted follicles had not yet begun, the grafts were securely settled beneath the scalp. His native hair was growing in a healthy and stable manner, and the overall scalp condition appeared well healed and on track for upcoming regrowth in the next phase. On this follow-up, patient 3 had completed the shedding phase, and the transplanted follicles were now entering the early growth phase. While visible hair growth was still minimal, the scalp showed healthy recovery and good graft stability. The donor area had healed completely, and the overall scalp condition appeared balanced and well-nourished. This stage marked the foundation for gradual and consistent hair growth in the coming months. The difference in each patient's growth timeline occurs due to individual hair growth cycles, scalp condition, and healing response. Every scalp reacts differently after transplantation, which is why growth appears earlier in some patients and later in others. If you have any questions regarding the shedding phase, then drop them in the comments section. Our experts will guide you. 6 months post-transplant, patient 2 shared a clear and encouraging update on his progress. At this important mid-stage, the hairline had started taking a well-defined shape, and the frontal region showed healthy, visible, and voluminous hair growth. The transplanted hair blending seamlessly with the native hair, creating a natural and balanced appearance. Although a few mild gaps were still visible, this is completely normal at the 6-month mark, as not all follicles enter the growth phase simultaneously. Some hairs are still maturing beneath the scalp and will gradually emerge and thicken over the coming months. Overall, the scalp appeared healthy, the donor area was fully healed, and the progress indicated strong graft survival with continued improvement expected in the next growth phase. 7 months post-transplant, patient 1 shared a few progress pictures that clearly highlighted his results. By this stage, his hairline appeared well-defined and natural. In the frontal area, the transplanted hair had matured well and blended seamlessly with his native hair. Along with these images, he also shared his positive feedback, expressing satisfaction with the natural density and his overall experience with QHT Clinic. If you are also ready to bring back your hairline and are looking for the best clinic, then right now, book a consultation with our experts. 7 months post-transplant, patient 3 visited the clinic for his final progress review, marking a major milestone in his hair restoration journey. During this visit, our experts observed that his newly designed hairline had become sharply defined, appearing natural and perfectly aligned with his facial proportions, which significantly enhanced his overall facial framing. The frontal area and mid-scalp, which were previously sparse, were now filled with dense, voluminous hair growth. The transplanted hair blended seamlessly with his native hair, creating a uniform and natural appearance without any visible transition lines. The improved density across the top of the scalp gave a fuller look from all angles. Additionally, the hair texture appeared healthy, with good thickness and consistent growth patterns, indicating strong graft survival and proper follicle maturation. Overall, the scalp exhibited even and balanced hair growth, restoring not just coverage, but also confidence. This transformation brought back his youthful, confident look. 8 months post-transplant, patient 2 shared his final transformation results. By this stage, his hairline appeared well-defined, complementing his facial proportions and giving him a refreshed, youthful appearance. The frontal area, which initially showed thinning, now exhibited thick and voluminous growth with excellent texture and natural shine. The transition between transplanted and native hair was completely seamless, making it impossible to distinguish between the two. The overall scalp coverage was uniform, reflecting optimal graft survival and consistent growth. The density achieved was age-appropriate and natural, enhancing his facial harmony and restoring his confidence. At this stage, patient 2 could easily style his hair in any way he desired, enjoying natural movement and a fuller look. His transformation highlighted the importance of precise planning, proper aftercare, and patience, key factors that led to long-term, realistic results. 26 months post-transplant, patient 1 shared his long-term results, and the transformation looked completely settled and natural. By this stage, the hairline had fully matured, appearing soft, realistic, and perfectly suited to his facial features. The frontal area showed strong, even density, and the transplanted hair blended so well with his native hair that it was impossible to tell which hair was transplanted. The hair had also become thicker and stronger over time, giving the scalp a healthy and fuller appearance from every angle. There were no visible gaps or patchiness, which reflects good graft survival and proper surgical planning. Most importantly, the results remained stable even after 2 years, showing that the transplant was designed with long-term success in mind. Overall, this journey wasn't just about hair restoration, it was about regaining confidence and comfort in everyday life, and patient 1's 26-month results truly reflect that. Before the transplant, patient 1 had early hair loss with a receding hairline which affected his facial framing, even though the rest of his scalp was healthy. It wasn't severe, but it was noticeable. After 26 months, his results look completely settled. The hairline feels natural, soft, and age-appropriate. The density in the frontal area blends perfectly with his existing hair, giving him a clean, confident, and long-lasting look. Patient 2 came in with moderate hair loss, where the hairline had receded in an M shape and the frontal area looked thin. The mid-scalp and crown were still holding well, but the front clearly needed correction. By around 8 months, his hairline started shaping up nicely. The frontal area showed healthy growth. Everything looked natural and on track for fuller results. Patient 3 had the most challenging starting point. His front area was almost completely bald, with no visible hairline and thinning in the mid-scalp. This had a big impact on his confidence for years. At 7 months, the change was striking. A new hairline was clearly visible. The front and mid-scalp were filled with dense hair, and his overall appearance looked younger and more confident. Each patient started at a different stage of hair loss, so their journeys were never going to look the same. Patient 1 showed quicker stability because his hair loss was in the early stage. Patient 2 followed a steady, middle ground growth pattern. Patient 3, despite advanced baldness, saw the most dramatic visual change due to proper planning and higher graft coverage. This comparison proves one thing clearly. It's not about how advanced the baldness is, but how well the treatment is planned and executed. If you also want a painless surgery experience, then right now, book your slot. Give a call or drop a message, our team will reach you out. Or visit any of our branch model colony, Haridwar D15, Outer Ring Road, Prashant Vihar, Sector 14, Rohini, Delhi, Nursing Home. Bearing plot number 3, Sector 46, Gurugram, Haryana, opposite Hotel Park Hyatt, Road number 2, Banjara Hills, Hyderabad, Telangana.
हेलो फ्रेंड्स, अगर आपने अभी तक हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो प्लीज इस वीडियो को लाइक कीजिए, शेयर कीजिए और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और ध्यान रहे बेल आइकन दबाना ना भूलें, जिससे हमारे हर वीडियो का अपडेट आपको समय समय पर मिलता रहेगा।